everyone, and welcome to our Future of Product webinar about Agile at scale, and especially why almost everyone fails to scale agility. My name is Henri Hämäläinen. I have with me Markku Nurmela here today.
Hello.
And today's agenda and topics are, first we'll go through why companies normally even try to scale agile in organization, like a larger organization. Then we'll jump into this why agile at scale actually fails. Then we go towards the kind of a main ways to scale agile in organization, and then at the end we'll talk a bit about these building blocks of agile at scale in organization overall. So I'll let Markku to introduce himself first. So please, Markku.
Thank you, Henri. Markku Nurmela from advisory and coaching team, the same team as Henri. Long background in product development in different roles. I'm a software engineer originally, but almost last 20 years I've been concentrating on product management, portfolio management type of stuff, and also kind of helping companies kind of developing new ways to organize around product. So that's my background.
Thank you. And then, as said, I'm Henri Hämäläinen, and also in this advisory and coaching unit at Eficode, have been working on helping organizations to scale agility or overall to kind of work and improve product development organizations for over 10 years as a coach, and then before that also on the organizational side in different roles. And my luxury is that I've seen quite many different kind of organizations and try to now gather here with Markku today some of the learnings to one set. Feel free to ask questions, give comments to us throughout the session in the QA or chat. Markku will be hosting that side, so feel free to put questions there, and we'll take those whenever those arrive. But let's start to why to try to scale agility overall in organizations. So there are few different reasons. One is this way to handle organizational complexity. When the organizations grow, they start to be more and more complex, and it needs more and more collaboration between different units in order to create the value. So it has been seen that the scaling the agile practices works as a way to handle the complexity and way to improve from that point the collaboration between units. Then quite often one reason that has been said is this, like trying to create effectiveness to the organization, even efficiency, but like overall this that hey, we are using so many resources on this and we need to get more value out of it. So the medicine for that is seen that hey, if we just take these agile at scale practices in use, then our investment effectiveness will start to grow. So that's one of the reasons behind the kind of going towards these agile at scale practices. Then the third, what we've seen quite often, is this faster response time to market needs. So this time to market overall increasing. That's something that almost all companies struggle a bit, that hey, we would need to get to the market faster, and that's seen that if we just would take these agile at scale practices into use, we would actually get to faster time to market. And we have to admit that there is also this, that hey, it's the trendy thing, hey, it has been a trendy thing for some time already. So there are companies and organizations which seem to go for like agile at scale, just because like, hey, it's something that our company needs to do. That's the popular thing. We don't get people in if we don't actually have these practices in place.
Yeah, good point. If it's also kind of employer attractiveness thing, that are we agile or not? Maybe just a comment on the first word, this kind of complexity. I see that also it's a root thing, or very kind of a fundamental thing behind many projects aiming to scale the agility. But I think that most companies don't actually recognize that word complexity. They see different type of symptoms, like unclear roles and responsibilities, or some kind of hassle is the status quo, or kind of there's lack of transparency or something like that. The complexity is the root, but many companies maybe don't use that word.
Yeah, it could be so that it's seen as that, hey, this is the way it has always been, and it's just like that big companies or medium-sized companies are seeing that, hey, this is just the fact of life, that hey, there needs to be this complexity, but we're not sure whether that is actually true. But I do recognize what you're saying, is that like organizational complexity, maybe it's not seen as an issue, but it's in all of the companies. So excellent point.
It's a complex thing.
Yeah, definitely. What we want to mention, that no one misunderstood us, is that like we are not talking about like safe framework or less or anything one way to scale agile. There are multiple ways to scale agility at organizations, and we're trying to kind of look over all of those, but meaning that, hey, just taking the agility to a next level, that's what we mean here with like agile at scale and scaling agility overall. Great. But we won't spend too much time today on talking about how to scale agility, but more about like what we've seen, the big failures being there, because these could help to actually success better on these initiatives to actually scale the agility at organizational level. So why agile at scale normally fails? We've recognized two typical failure types, and one is this implementation fails, meaning that the change project fails, or it can even be, and it actually quite often is, that like organizations jump to a certain approach to scale agility, but they don't really think is that a suitable thing for them, because the approaches are different and suit differently to different organizations. Or then the other thing is that the essential foundation, like team level agility or kind of a sales models or some things like that are not there in order to be able to even build up the agile at scale level. So there is this implementation fails type of failures in agile at scale. But then what we've seen also is the target setting fails, that like organizations don't really understand what they are after with agile at scale. And then maybe another thing is that the ambition level isn't like high enough. It's not something that they are really thinking about time to market. It's just said that, hey, we want the time to market to improve, but it's not like radically improve or like getting half out of the time to market or something like that. So that these are the kind of categorically the two different type of failures we've seen. Anything, Markku, to add?
Yeah, I know this is your favorite subject, but someone might say that why are these in this order? Why not start with the target setting stuff? I know you have your answer on this.
Yeah, I guess one reason being that it's really hard to set the targets without having some kind of a baseline existing. So yeah, of course you need to have some kind of idea of what you are targeting, and that's what it says, that their target setting fails from the beginning. But I think you can actually implement Agile at scale perfectly. You can take a book and let's say less or safe, and you can actually implement it perfectly, but still it's a failure. And I think that's the thing that has to be understood, that if you don't understand what you're after, so what's the ambition level, what you're trying to achieve, then it doesn't matter, even your implementation would be perfect. So I see that the right side is something that would need a lot of attention throughout the implementation cycle also. So yeah, it could be in a different order, but I still think that target setting is something that is even more important to continuously keep on mind when doing these Agile at scale projects.
Yeah, I think they should be aligned, because okay, you can improve your target setting when you have reached some sort of level of scaled agility, and then you can reset the targets and so forth. Maybe a couple of words about this kind of ambition level. It's at least I've seen quite often that somehow the ambition is really not at the company level. So okay, we look into R&D and let's make that scale. But as we know, there are quite a few functions. There's this kind of sales function, there's marketing stuff, management, many really important functions that should be scaled as well or adapted to the model. So maybe we actually talk this a bit later on, but
yeah,
that is what I mean. Ambition level also means that you take into account other functions as well, not just R&D.
Yeah, I think that's excellent point. I think this way too often you see that you start to build the agility, like if you think about matrix organization, you start to build horizontally the agility levels, but it should be all the time vertically. Like, hey, what are the value verticals that you have, and you build up the agility for those, because that's the only way to really achieve these high improvements on your competitiveness, which should be in the background, in the kind of a back of each improvement project. So I think that's exactly why the ambition level is here, is that we've seen it's too often seen as a sub-optimization rather than a real kind of a optimization for organizational competitiveness. Good. Going forward, there's these 5 experiences. So these are not only one case, but we've had the luxury as a company to see quite many different type of approaches and projects. So we tried to gather 5 examples, but these examples might have more than one. But what are the typical failures of trying to scale the agility overall, is that this is quite often like a business model, and this is just an example, this project sales and safe model, but this business model and development model do not match. Meaning that we're trying to be a product company, but we sell as a project company. That's a perfect example. Or there can be things like we try to create these Spotify type of tribes, but still we sell huge solutions which actually need all of the things to work together. So this development model and business model needs to match in order to be able to create this agility throughout the organization. Any thoughts on this?
I think this is really critical, not at all well understood that how they are combined or kind of thought as a separate things, but that is really the issue here, is that they should sync. So well, I can only agree, and I think a couple of customers who already have done this error. Also, I've seen some, okay, it's maybe not so business model related thing. It's more like the company size, that companies that are not that big, they think that they need this scaling stuff, although they don't, because there's always some overhead doing it. So it's partly dependent on this, because they think that in ability to scale their business, they need to kind of do things at the R&D, although it's not necessary. They could solve that doing something else.
Yep, fully agree, and have to still add that the business model could even be like that. It's just more of a consultant language now, but like that the cash flows and development models should match. I think that's even more precise, because the kind of how you budget, how you have the line management budgets, how because the money overall is such a big influencer on all the decision making. So if you create this agile like a decision making model, and then you have a separate decision maker model for what money can always drive, like on top of the existing agile decision making model or steering model, then you will always clash at some point, and normally money wins. That's what happens.
Always money wins.
Or maybe almost always, but yeah, you are right. It's money which wins, and then you ruin your kind of agile way of working if you don't put those in order. Good. Then I think this is something everyone expected to be here, that the team level agility is not mature. So yeah, we've seen this, and I would actually have one word which is not even in the sentence, but this is this discipline. The discipline in all levels. I think all in all, when organizations grow, just in order to create this agility and effectiveness to the organization, there needs to be a lot of discipline to keep the promises, to keep the quality level, to actually do the documentation, to do the communication to other channels and stuff like that. So I think that's what this is mainly about, that there needs to be this discipline in all the different levels, and this team level now goes quite wide here. So it's not only about development teams, but it's the same with like marketing and sales and support and all of these.
Yeah, nothing to add here. Fully agree.
Okay, then I think we discussed about this one already, but I guess it's such an important topic that we've seen it to happen all the time, is that like this investment decision making is not really in line with the kind of agile at scale model. So for example, this that you do resource budgeting for initiatives, that's quite often seen that in portfolio level, you still like assign, hey, this team does this and these people are assigned to this one, and there can be a good reasons for it, like you wanna actually put something to capex or stuff like that. So there might be good reasons behind it, but if these are not in line with the agile at scale model, then you will again clash, and then the like I said, money always wins, and then you end up on not being agile organizational, but you have actually done the decisions year ago already with some fixed budgets or fixed resources.
I've seen this in a few places that this kind of like portfolio level planning creates a lot of waste because the budgeting comes after that. Okay, we do some planning, okay, and then the reality hits, and this is how much we actually can do. If the money is so kind of limitation, then why not start from there? Because then we at least we don't plan anything which is not doable. So that's one thing, and that then comes back to this kind of decision-making cycle. It is so that for a reason, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it looks like the budget decisions, they are done quite late in the by the end of the year, like November or something like that. And the kind of many teams start planning for the roadmaps for the kind of coming sprints after summer. So there should be really kind of better cadence with this kind of investment decisions, and when you do actually the road mapping stuff.
Yeah, and now you're talking about yearly budgets, of course. If you can
yearly budget, but okay, it could be rolling as well, but they should be in sync.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. One thing I want to still add to the portfolio level, which we've seen so many times, is that somehow there's this strange misunderstanding that all the work goes through portfolio level, which is totally untrue with digital development. There is always this maintenance and this kind of a fixing, which is normally the 40% of the money. And that's one of the things that if that's not understood, if you don't leave any room for the teams to keep the depth away, keep the technology in good order, good quality, then this will also fail the whole thing. The portfolio decision making is failed, and basically everything after it is failed. So that's a thing that needs to be also understood on this. Good. Then the fourth one. This is, I think we discussed a bit about this one already, but this kind of talking maybe about waste or just like R&D efficiency. These are things that, okay, it lacks the ambition, but in all, it's that Agile is seen as something that the R&D does. And I mean, that's totally incorrect. If you want the company level agility, it needs to go over the functions, to the full value delivery, to the full value flow of things. I don't know how to highlight this enough. It's just something that has to be understood in order to gain the benefits.
Yeah,
great.
No comments on that.
And then the fifth one is this: in order to success with these agile at scale projects, there needs to be these executives that own the change, that actually are driving the change forward. So that's definitely a thing that we've seen too often, that it's again given as some other part of the organization to drive. So there needs to be a continuous drive for the change from the executive level in order to succeed.
And patience. These things will take time. So it's really important for the kind of these programs that develop this kind of company level agility, that there are constantly improvements, there are quick wins, and we can demonstrate that this is really working. If we only can, after 3 years doing this, show very little benefits, then it will probably die. because the management gets impatient. So that let's not forget that.
Yeah, you are totally right. This take, like, you think it takes a long time, and then it takes a double of that. That's quite often the thing. But okay, let's go forward towards, hey, what's our then thoughts and thinking about what are the ways to scale agility overall? So we're simple guys, so we want to always simplify things. So we see there's basically two real ways to scale agility. And one is to create ways to manage complexity. Most of the agile at scale projects are about this. How do you create ways to manage complexity? Then there are some of these bold companies, bold organizations, which actually try to get rid of the complexity. So there are only these two ways, and many will actually say that, hey, you can at the same time create ways to manage complexity and try to get rid of the complexity, and that's there is some truth behind it, but in order to get rid of complexity, you need to be very brave and actually do so. That's not going to happen like evolutionary. So it needs radical changes in the way of working, in the way of organization,
and rethinking the business as well.
Exactly. So we feel it's really these two, and it's important to also understand and try to kind of then act like what we are trying to solve. So if
yeah, maybe you could summarize that if you are on this get ways to manage complexity, this is maybe something that R&D can do. There are definitely things they can do, but on the other hand, if the aim is to get rid of complexity, this is really a kind of company-wide undertaking. So as mentioned, right, it will require some serious rethinking about what's the value, who will provide it, how do we do it, all that, and the R&D can't do this alone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then on the other hand, you cannot do without R&D. It's also,
of course, it's always involved. Who drives? That's the key.
Yep. Okay. So then, what are the ways to manage complexity? So again, like to simplify, there's two things.
You only have two things. Some person had three things, but you only have two.
Yeah. So to actually manage complexity, there is the dependencies. There are these dependencies, what actually creates the complexity in organizations. And then there's the focus to value. Of course, that's also on the when you try to get rid of the complexity, but that kind of comes more easily. But on the dependency management, I see that this if we start from the middle, this common planning cycle, for example, scaled agile framework or less, or there are other frameworks, but these are the things that actually help you to reduce, or not reduce, but to help with the dependencies, to realize the dependencies.
Make them visible.
Yeah, and I see there to be a very important part, the tools. I think nowadays there are so great tools. If we think about something like a Jira Align, that if someone of you have seen, it has like the most beautiful way to actually highlight the dependencies and what's happening with all of those. So you have like great tools to actually do the dependency management. But that's something that when you are in the business that you need to create ways to manage complexity, you need to invest in the tools a lot. I mean, that cannot be done without proper tools. And even this team of teams thinking, if you've read the book or seen some presentation which is about like creating these virtual trust networks inside the organization, that's about managing dependency also. Like it helps to detect dependencies and knowledge, to spread the knowledge when there are these trust networks inside the organization. And I just have to say this isn't a bad thing. It's just like if you are in this business that your product is such a complex that you need to create ways to manage complexity, it's good to recognize it and then invest into these ones. And for the value flow management, I think everything starts with value mapping, understanding how the value actually is created. What are the parts that affects the customer value? Because then you can actually create understand the dependencies better and understand the complexity better when you create this value mapping. And I think their agile portfolio management and overall these agile requirements like epics and features and stories and how do you actually slice down the work is very essential part of kind of being better on creating ways to manage the complexity.
Maybe I could ask a third point here. You only have two, so there's no room for it. But if you think about like the depth, is it like technical depth or UX depth or whatever depth that is? So kind of certain kind of investments in ways of working is also on this side. So if you want to manage the complexity, you have to invest also into the actual work, how you do that. And then that requires investment in technical depth and things like that, because those are like political decisions. Are we going to take the depth or not? We can do that for a certain reason, but at some time you have to pay the debts. So yeah. I think it's partly in here as well.
Yeah, it is. And I somehow feel it's under this agile portfolio management, which kind of has the technical architectural decisions inside it or in it also. But yeah, it could be a separate one here definitely. And I have to say that like as a one way to manage complexity is to reduce the complexity. And I guess that's something that you should always do. It's about like this continuous improvement. You should always try to reduce the complexity as a company which has complexity. But then when we talk in here, get rid of complexity, this is like really radical change in organizations which are in the managing complexity world. I don't believe they ever get to this really getting rid of complexity, even because I think complexity arrives like there is continuously more and more complexity built in organizations. So if you continuously try to reduce it, you kind of stand still. But then if you want to get rid of it, you need to do some radical moves. And this is, like it says, reducing complexity has way larger rewards, but it requires a lot more vision from the leadership. And I honestly believe on that sentence. So there needs to be quite clear vision. These are our customer segments. These are the ones that bring us the potential to create value for the customer. So overall, it's like creating these decision-making units that are empowered, has the capabilities in it, and then it also needs this like a product and technological environment which is very adaptable, meaning that you can actually with this decision-making unit to create the value to the customer more easily. And to be able to create the decision-making units, it's about now, again, we talked a bit time ago already about these verticals. So it's about like building up the organizational units via this verticals and like really reduce the functional capability units. For example, marketing or sales or whatever it is. It can be like a factory or something like that. How do you reduce the dependency? If even like reduce it to zero, like build it up to yourself and just follow the brand guidelines as something to keep up the brand. But like I think that's the key to it, and I think we've seen in even like in Google Alphabet is a perfect example. It's still a big units, but they've really, there's no like Google. There are these smaller units that work with the same brand, and I think that's one way to try to really have these delivery capable units, even though those are in this example quite big ones still. And then this adaptable product and technological environment, I mean, this like you said, Markku, in some time ago already, that it needs the business model that suits this. It needs the kind of a way that this unit can actually define themselves pricing, and they can monetize the things, and they are also measured with these numbers. So. And as a last one, the strong brand guidelines, because all the time you still want to keep the brand, even though like now compared to the Google, not anyone knows that, hey, are those different units or the same units? It looks Google when it's Google, but still those can be so different units inside the kind of alphabet group.
I guess this kind of delivery capable units that then kind of implies that you have to have like automation type of thing, quality built in. So it's really kind of it's a big decision if you go there. But some things you have to kind of bring inside that unit that could be, for example, in the current organization, be kind of separate function or separate team doing that. Yeah. So you have to probably kind of insource that in your delivery unit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the question goes like for many organizations which have these like platforms and stuff like that how do you build up these like decision-making units? But then you need to separate also the platform one to be like, you can always, I like to play the game that, hey, what if this would be a separate company? How would it work then? They could still work as a separate company, which you would behave with. And I think these are questions that would need to be always like thought through, that how do you always create so much value that the other organizational units would even be willing to pay for it. So
the platform that's a really good test. That is the platform really helping us, or is it like blocking us?
Yep. Yeah, there's no easy answers on this, but maybe the point we want to make is that like if you really want to create like real competitive edge from Agile at scale, you might need to do something differently. If you take the same models and everybody else, you won't get any competitive value out of those. And that's not. I think now we go back to all the way to the strategy of organizations. So if your strategy is about like being effective on delivery, that might be perfectly fine that you use some of the existing frameworks to build up the effectiveness to your delivery with some of these models. But if you try to really be like a competitive with like a visionary products, then you have to get rid of the complexity as such. So it's the way you scale Agile needs to match your organizational strategy, and especially like what's the strategy corner you are actually after. All right, great. Again, if there are any questions, feel free to hit us.
There is one, and I guess we could take this before we conclude. So there was this one question about, is there any prerequisite of scaling agility before you kind of start implementing that? So what needs to be there before you kind of take these kind of programs into planning table?
Yeah,
it's a question, but I guess if you go into the kind of conclusion slide, we could maybe reflect part of the answers on that.
Sure, but I still want to say something before even going there. Is that like I feel that like there would need to be at least what we are trying to achieve with Agile at scale. I mean, that's the first question that needs to be answered before you start. Then yes, definitely there are some things that you would need to build up, but like let's go here. So
yeah, the why part is good, because what's the reason? Why are you doing that? So good answer for that is a good start.
Exactly, yeah. So we have this few simple building blocks that where you could start when you think about Agile at scale organization. So we have these four main categories. Is that one is this creating this company-wide steering model that and this doesn't mean that company-wide steering model needs to be that there's one person or one small group that decide, but that it states that there needs to be some steering model that everyone understands, that hey, now these units have the empowerment to do these type of decisions. So like it says, align but don't centralize. So kind of what one unit can actually decide? Can they decide about resource, technology, strategy? What they can decide, and also what we already discussed, like the cash flows needs to match the decision-making models also. Then this delivery capability, I think we covered that one a bit already also, but the delivery capability, someone might say here like DevOps, but overall that there needs to be these automations and being able to really deliver to customer. It might even need, like it says in the second bullet here, this dynamic team composition model. So you kind of if you need more people, like if you need more knowledge out of like factories, then you would need to have the way to actually get them to help to be able to deliver stuff easier. But then this kind of a competence development and nurturing of people, that's the hard part of nowadays, is that like there needs to be a way to keep people and keep people happy also on this continuous improving delivery capabilities. But that's like a one way like to think about how do we deliver a value potential to the customer, how do we create these units, and how the value flow actually goes for all of those. Then the third one is this building working methods to ensure the quality and business continuity. Because the challenge is that all the organizations have existing business. If we take the like startups out of the the question. So most of the organizations have some existing business, and there needs to be a way to actually keep the business continuity, keep the quality of the old ones, and I think that's something that's too often also neglected on when you build up the Agile at scale. And overall, like often what's delivered is not something that just one, like a development team does, but it's the customer value comes from a very large set of things. So there needs to be a good way to make sure that the end-to-end customer value is really, really there also. And then the fourth one is this, our maybe favorite subject is this shared understanding of strategy, customer personas throughout the organization. It's so strange how almost
everyone is with this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like almost every, and I could even say every organization. Maybe there's someone who's now on the line who says that, hey, we have this perfectly covered and great, but we haven't seen these unicorns yet where actually even the kind of a higher middle management would have the same view of strategy and personas. So this is something that is definitely a thing that would need to be built up to be able to scale the agility overall.
This will help any company, although
exactly.
It's not just the scaling agility thing.
Great. These were our kind of four main principles. Of course, there are others, but we had to select some things that, hey, if you start to think about these ones, then I think that's now a bit answering the question of like where to start. And where to start from these, I think it's either the top left corner or bottom right corner. I think those are things that would be beneficial for every organization to have a clear understanding of those in order to start to scale agility overall. Great. If there are any questions, feel free to hit us now. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you got some new ideas. Feel free to contact either of us. We are very happy to talk more about these ones. These are things what we've seen and learned from many different companies, and definitely can help to also to spread some knowledge to other companies also.
There is a question. Okay, would you share the presentation with participants? There will be
a video. There will be this video presentation, and if you wish to get the actual presentation, please send
drop a mail.
Yeah, mail, and then we'll share it separately. But it's not automatically coming to everyone. But you can contact me or Markku, and we'll send it to you. All right. Hey, thanks a lot for your interest and participation, and have a nice rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From my behalf as well.